We're still doing CAD, and my cat is still asking for bolts. The usual. Get a lot of the weird noises he makes. He also kind of likes those bits of plastic and things. Anyway. I will play with Tuco soon, probably, but I also want to keep working on this CAD. Maybe I can do the multitasking thing where I throw bolts. I think he's also disappointed that we're out of his favorite cat food. I just put out another kind for him, but I think he's disappointed. Me too. Yeah, I'm gonna throw something for you. Actually, I've got some bolts right here in my pocket. Oh, Tuco, you're so excited about these things. We could get so meta and do CAD for these actual bolts. I've tried doing some simple variations of them. Although I think right now I've managed to cultivate a distrust in the 3D printed bolts. Because I think I gave him a couple of fairly lousy batches of 3D printed bolts where I think they had a bunch of strings on it that probably didn't have a good texture. Sorry, boy. And I think more importantly, when I would throw them, they would have a tendency for the head of the bolt to just like separate from the threads, which Tuco did not like. He just like gave me the saddest look when that happened. And then I discovered that that was a pretty common thing with this particular batch, or rather that particular G-code file. And so then, like, I was lazy and I made a couple more batches with that same G-code file because Tuco didn't have any more bolts. And I think he's still mad about that. I think he still doesn't like 3D printed bolts. So I've been trying to pick up any of those bad 3D printed bolts from the shop when I see them. And yeah, Tuco. And I'm going to try to make some better 3D printed bolts and see if I can restore his trust. But right now he seems to really like these are like the nylon bolts that come from McMaster-Carr. But when he was okay with the 3D printed bolts, I tried a couple of variations. I had this plan. It was basically a meme I was trying to start, FERP, the Fetch Experience Research Program. And so the idea was that, you know, any fans of Tuco, but maybe especially Patreon supporters, could send designs that I could 3D print. And so maybe people who supported at a higher level would get credits equivalent to more print time or something. And then you could just send in whatever designs you wanted. Then I would print them, you know, present them to Tuco, play with him, and then send back video of that exchange or some other like rating system. So then, of course, that brings up the idea of perhaps automated FERP clients, where you know, there could be some kind of algorithm evolving the shape of the bolt to be more favorable for Tuco. But for that to work, then you need some way of analyzing how much Tuco likes something. And really, I just, you know, the ultimate technical solution, if one needs such a thing for this, I hesitate to say problem, would be to have some kind of solution so that every bolt you print can be tracked around the shop as it bounces around. And if you could do that, then you could probably figure out which ones Tuco likes playing with. And you could have little robots interact with the bolts also. And, you know, if Tuco's forgotten about a bolt that he actually likes, then the robot could go pick it up for him or something. And I don't know if you could embed any kind of electronics in the bolt that would be useful for sensing like that. But there might be either optical or acoustic methods for doing the sensing. I mean, the most straightforward method I can think of is using bolts with like a fluorescent dye in them, and then having a camera system that uses, like a modulated light at that frequency that activates the fluorescent dye. And then you could use different dye mixtures for each bolt and use basically a color camera to sense the different fluorescences. And of course, you need to do it in a way that's like safe to be around cats and humans all day. But then the other thing that I think I'm actually maybe even more excited about is having the system locate bolts the same way I think he's locating them, which is I think he locates them mostly by sound. So I'm imagining having, and actually I've even started to kind of plan this out more than, I feel like this will contribute to my crazy cat lady status. But I was thinking about having like piezo elements, like contact microphones, and basically glue them to the concrete floor here at along the perimeter and wherever it's convenient, because the floor here transmits vibration quite well. And if I have a friend who comes over and she likes to do jumping jacks sometimes, and it just vibrates the whole place. And we have a neighbor who lifts weights, and they drop weights, and it vibrates the whole place. And I suspect that combined with the pretty good response of the contact microphones, like you might actually be able to get location just by basically taking some piezo discs and amplifiers and gluing them to the floor and doing a bunch of signal processing. And if that worked well enough, then there might actually be some way to, and this is maybe getting like way too out there. This is a few levels removed from what's actually happening right now. But some way to computationally predict the auditory signature of a bolt based on its 3D, or of an object based on its 3D model, of an object of bolt-shaped physics. And so I can imagine having a system where you kind of take an acoustic fingerprint of the bolt, and I'm saying compute because that would allow you to do really cool things like actually encode a particular pattern in the bolt, or enforce uniqueness between multiple designs you print. But even if you can't computationally figure it out, if each bolt does happen to have a unique acoustic signature of, I don't know whether it would be like some kind of spectral characteristics or, hey Tuco, I'm too lazy to pick that bolt up right now, so I'm gonna get another one from my pocket. Hey boy. Anyway, if all that stuff is actually unique enough from design to design, then maybe you could even use that to track the bolts. All right, maybe I can start multitasking this with the CAD. Oh, maybe I can actually show on camera what the test has shown so far, because I have some thoughts about it that I think lead to the next update on this design. I am so bad at using the current camera switching mechanism. That's the one I wanted. So this is basically the current state of the art, and it looks like kind of a hat taco. And so when I started modeling this particular one, I wasn't really sure what it would end up looking like. I basically started from the top and worked downward, trying to support everything without running into any of the surface mount electronics. And that's what led to this shape mostly. And so I was really concerned about the printability when I designed it, and that actually worked out, I think, pretty well. If I pop out the insert, we can take a closer look at what this looks like. So I printed it on the bed down like this. Is Tuco close by? And the most obvious features are it's round and kind of shaped like a button with kind of a spherical indentation to rest in. It has cutouts where the surface mount parts, like the leads for the switch and the resistors, might end up going. And inside, it's really hard to see what's going on with this camera, so I'm going to see if the microscope helps. I mean, I think I understand what's going on and I could describe it, but neither of us could see it on the screen because the stuff is so transparent and kind of weird. Microscope. Which button is the microscope? Oh, okay, what is going on? Let's get some more Z height here. Everything needs more Z. It's like cowbell. I mean, I don't really need more Z. I get strangers on the street telling me how like tall I am. It's like, oh God, do you realize how tall you are? Do you play basketball? I get that all the time. I mean, I don't know. I understand why people do it, but I can't say I like it. I do appreciate being tall sometimes, but it's also, you know, it's just a way of being. So I picked up the wrong one, but this one's really interesting, so I thought I should actually turn on the microscope recorder, because this is interesting. I mean, I guess I can show you what I'm doing since I have, I'm recording the microscope on this computer at the moment. This is an HDMI grabber. Oh, I guess I should update. This is OBS. This is another instance of OBS. It isn't really set up like the instance that's running this stream is, but I'm just using it since it's a convenient way of recording stuff like this to disk. And then this is actually recording to a network share on my machine that has the loads of hard disks for all the video storage. And I've had problems with that before where sometimes OBS doesn't actually like write the header to the QuickTime file. So I might end up having to switch this to use local disks and then copy it over the network the other direction, which is what I do with my streaming machine. And you might notice, well, it's probably on a lag for you too. I was going to say, you might notice this is on a lag, and then, is this on a lag for you also? But it's not on much of a lag. But that's the audio going to all the video grabbers from the kind of main audio mixer. That's how I keep everything in sync later. All right. That's the CAD model for what we were just looking at. So we should ideally be able to see this structure on the inside that, oh, I was in the middle of modifying this actually. I'll tell you why in a sec. Maybe it's simpler to go look at the real object first. Oh, Tuco's back in his usual spot. I'll put his, put him back in his usual window. Sorry, Tuco. I was going to be all smooth about that, and then the cable got stuck on this old oscilloscope. Tuco's sitting next to my favorite multimeter. Hey, cat. It's okay. Oh my god, that is cute. What a silly cat. Anyway, I should maybe take my channel switcher away from Tuco's face, because otherwise I'll hit him in the face accidentally. So we were over here, except not that one, we want this one. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to get a little bit of microscope footage of this button, because this is the last, this is the latest one that I've printed that includes the actual surround that keeps the, keeps the more delicate parts of the button from moving in ways they aren't supposed to, and also provides a nicer place for your finger to rest to get some leverage. Let's see. Is that, where the hell is that DSLR pointed? Let's get that actually pointed somewhere useful. Happy holidays, everyone. Oh, right. I'm used to the white thing being under the microscope, but I've got this like black piece of metal under there. Which I was using that because I was testing magnetic stuff, but the camera really has trouble if there's just such a contrast in the scene, so I need to be careful with that. Okay, so this one, let's take a closer look at this. Yeah, so I think the movement on this button is actually pretty close to what I want. You can see how it's like not a stretching, it's more of a rolling motion. And that's what I want. I want it to be, you know, changing angles, not changing length. And, you know, it's obviously kind of bowing outward a little bit, and it'll involve some compression once this is rigidly fitted against the flex PCB. So it could be better, but I think it's good enough. And under here, this is really, I think this version of it was supposed to be, I forget whether this was the one that was flat or flat with a little ridge down it, but either way you can see it had a lot of trouble with the overhang, and it's just kind of giving me a blob. So that aspect of this button design was not so successful. But the surround was nice. I'm happy with the way that worked out. The microscope shows the texture much better than even the zoom lens on the microscope or on the DSLR does. You can see there's still some boogers here attached, which honestly they make it a little bit stronger and don't offer much resistance, but it probably doesn't hurt to break them. I could cut them cleanly with the side cutters. But it's also important to look at how this operates when the whole thing is flexing. And so I don't want this to put so much extra pressure down that it triggers the tactile switch. And I want the surround to still mostly serve its function even when it's distorted like this. And so that's also something that's easier when this whole thing is less tall, which is also something I was able to change. Okay, so let's go back to the one I printed most recently in the stream earlier today. So this one has a lot less to it because it's relying on the rigid plastic insert to spread out the force rather than having to be really thick in order to do that with the NinjaFlex. And I think I didn't really end up succeeding on implementing the squishing part successfully because there's a little bit of that 30-degree overhang here that bends down as you press, but it really moves very little. And it might be fine because it really doesn't need to move very much, but I think it can do a lot better if I design that more carefully now that I kind of know what this is supposed to be doing. I do need to keep whatever I do to make this springy needs to stay below about where my fingernail is right now because like the top part of this button has to be both pretty sturdy and pretty presentable. So I can't like cut into it too much. But this area over here where I had to have the opening for the circuitry and then kind of build up a solid surface, that seems like it just barely worked. Kind of same with this big overhang here. Like, it seems to have sagged a little bit, but it also seems to have just barely worked out well enough. So that might be all right, but we could look for ways to improve it. That's pretty nice. And then the other feature worth keeping are these little bumps under here hold in the rigid plastic insert, and they seem to have formed all right. They seem relatively sturdy. And then on top, you notice like the very middle here, there's almost nothing there. There's just one layer of really sparse fill there. But it still actually, the surface feels really nice. And well, let's put the insert in, because I've already tested it with the insert, and the top of the button works out pretty well. So this is the insert I have currently. It's a little harder to tell what's going on with this neon purple print. I think the next set of inserts I print are going to be white or black, so that I can see how that looks under the clear also. I don't have that many colors of PLA right now, unfortunately, but I should try to get some more. So you can see this little reinforcing kind of hex structure under there, and the slightly thinner structure across most of the face. The other side should be nice and clean. That's just whatever gouges in my build plate there were. And then these bars here end up providing an end stop so that the rim of the button can't get too close to the flex PCB. It kind of limits how angled the button can get. And then these little bites out of the side are intended to fit with these little bumps on the flexible part. So I really need more Z height on this microscope. All right. Can I get that in there? I mean, this is actually a completely different problem, trying to fit it versus trying to get it in focus on the microscope. And also kind of trying to illustrate how well it fits. So, I think that side actually fits quite nicely. And if I try to do the same thing on the other side, and just loop that around, then I think that actually does what I wanted it to do and holds onto the insert nicely. But you'll notice that it looks like it's stretching in the process. So my primary suspicion as far as what's causing that is the little amount of sag in the middle here. I think that might have, the kind of bunching up in the middle might be, well, maybe this is easier with a post-it note or something. So right now I think the top of this hard plate is a little over-constrained, and I have it kind of pinched at the sides. I also have it kind of unintentionally pinched in the middle, because that's where the this kind of printing defect is pushing down on the plate also, which doesn't feel like, it actually feels totally smooth, so maybe it is just a problem with the radius rather than anything like this. But what that was building up to was my first suspicion for how I could fix this was by just opening up the Z height available to this little disc a little bit more. And that might help more than making the disc a little bit less wide in the radius dimension. Because when I look at this in the kind of, this XY plane, it looks like it's fitting fine. But that's not good, actually. So, is that the problem? Is there a little booger in that joint? It also might be I'm being a perfectionist and overreacting to this, and once it's assembled, I wouldn't even notice this. But yeah, I mean, if you see through that gap there, so we're seeing like the top of that kind of archway place. Actually, we can get a side-by-side with CAD. That would be nice. Oh, maybe this microscope is too high now. I feel like I'm holding it at a super awkward angle. All right, where am I? So, okay, let me see if I can revert the last couple of changes I made, because I already started changing this past the model. Yeah, so that's what we have printed here. So you can see I was in the process of kind of moving that up for an experiment. So in the model, the top of that pointy section comes pretty much right to... Oh, interesting. I was going to say it comes right to like the roof of the section, but I think there might even be... Oh, okay, there's like a little triangle of material there that I wouldn't... That's not really supposed to be there, and that might be causing some gooberiness, but I don't think that's really a problem. But if you ignore that little triangle of material, like this thing that's like floor level right now is the flat surface where the insert is supposed to go, and that lines up with the point on that triangle. So let me orient this how I was looking at it before. So in the model, you can see I'm expecting the insert to fit like all the way up against the point of that triangle, and it's really not even getting close. So I think my strategy of making that dimension a little taller is probably right. But I was also tempted to maybe like redraw the CAD model for this part of the button, because I have a much better idea of what it needs to look like now, or at least in terms of, you know, the interface with the force spreader part. I keep calling it a force spreader. I insisted on naming the layer rigid inserts, but that's really hard to say. Maybe I just like typing rigid inserts, but I like saying force spreader. This is probably some kind of psychology test. So, anyway. Is that not actually on that layer? Oh, it's probably hidden. Anyway. Oh, I turned on the junk layer. That's why all the junk appeared. So, anyway. Let's maybe turn the plastic piece back on. Oh, this really needs to be in a brighter color. And that's not part of the force spreader. That is part of the surround. Or part of the buttons, I guess. And so is that. Okay, that's closer to what we got. So like the bottom of that Yeah. Man, I've still got some, my hands are still covered in all this crap from, my cat drags weird things in, and unlike normal like outdoor cats that drag in like animal carcasses, my warehouse cat drags in, so far he's brought back 4 cigars and a couple of like random bits of wood and like a piece of insulation foam covered in paint. The latest thing he brought back was like a 1-foot-long by maybe an 1-inch strip of, it looks like roofing material, so like tar-covered paper stuff. So like, I don't know why he likes this stuff. It's so gross. And the cigars he brought, like, I mean, those weren't gross. They were just like old. Like they seemed like, I mean, like I asked around my neighbors here, and nobody had like lost cigars. Like, I think he managed to get into some like really, really, really old storage that somebody had forgotten about. It's super weird here. Yeah, normal soap and water does not take it off especially expediently. Might have to try some other solvents in a sec. But yeah, I think it looks clear that there's just kind of some sagging going on, which isn't really a problem for the structure of the top insofar as like this feels fine, but it just means it's not fitting. So I think I'm gonna go ahead with my plan and increase that a little bit. So I was trying to just like cut these apart and then join them back together with like an extrusion in the middle. But I was already having problems with the booleans due to how messed up this model is getting. I think I was going to raise this by, I mean, I guess we can, I'm just going to judge that by eyeball based on how much it looked like it was sagging. I think that was maybe like a job for 0.3. Let's try 0.3. I don't really want to do too loose a fit there. But anyway, I was trying to like stitch these back together, extend this frame, and just ran into Boolean problems. I think partly it was stuff like this, where I needed to kind of patch that over on both sides. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this model that is like legacies of previous mistakes, and they don't need to be there. For example, I really was not sure how this part of the model was going to work, and it turned out to be a lot simpler than I expected. And because of that, I think I can try modeling this mostly as just a single revolve operation and then cut out some parts for the surface mount components like this. So I think if I go back to looking at how I might want to do the kind of squishy button lever part on this more efficiently, I think I can use, I can keep these around and use them as a reference and take parts of them and reuse them, but then try to condense what I want down into just a single curve that I can revolve, and then do another Boolean operation to take out regions for these SMT parts. And so the shape here is pretty easy to figure out. It's basically just a rectangle that I drew large enough to accommodate the electronics here, and I made it symmetric just so that I wouldn't have like asymmetric feel on the button. And then, and in fact, I might even have to change this slightly because, I mean, these rectangles are way bigger than they need to be, so I think this is actually fine. But yeah, technically these are like keep out areas. And then this overhang, its intention was to like work really quickly to try to support this unsupported region here. Originally I had something that went just straight up and then over, but that just became unworkable with the curvature of this edge. and the length of this gap here, it would have needed to go kind of up into the air and then over, which isn't a thing that you can do. So yeah, I think with these, I think some of these design decisions have limited how thin the whole thing can be, but I think this is probably a pretty good compromise, and this makes the design a lot simpler. So I don't think this piece needs any changes at all, and I think this piece I'm going to slightly redraw, but keep a lot of the pieces from the old design. Just make some sublayers. Oh man, I'm going to get my water bottle and catch up on chat, because this seems like a time to do that. A lot of suggestions in chat for how I could do this using different equipment than what I currently have in the shop, which is less helpful than, I think half the point of prototyping is that you get used to the equipment you have and how to build stuff with it. That said, I would like to experiment with multiple material extrusions. Dual extrusion is interesting. I find something like I think it's called the palette. It was one of those things where I was like, why don't people just do this? And then I was like, oh yeah, somebody's already doing this, and it's on Kickstarter. And so it's like a system that takes multiple filament spools and calculates where it needs to weld them together into a single continuous feed of multiple materials that then goes into whatever other printer you want to use it with. So that's nice because, it seems to work with a lot of different materials and a lot of existing equipment. And it seemed interesting. I looked into it a bunch, months ago, but haven't really kept up with it, and didn't really feel like paying for one of my own. They're still pretty expensive. Oh man, now I feel like I'm on the hook for delivering ultrasound results. Like I make a couple of videos in ultrasonic sensors, and all of a sudden I have to have deadlines or something. Anyway, did I already move these objects? I think I already moved these objects. Yeah. Let's give this... Can I make these more translucent? That would be cool. I don't think I can, though. I don't think that's something you can control at this point. That's fine. That's the stuff I am keeping. I'm keeping some of this. Okay, let's get rid of some distractions here. Tuco, what you doing? Oh. want to concentrate on this design sometimes. Okay, I think this is the right plane to be working from. So, I mean, this was a lot of my limitation here, that particular piece. You're back over here now, Tuco. How about that? Do you want to play? Oh, what a weird cat. Yeah, I mean, so like moving this support wouldn't change the problem, I don't think. It'd be nice to keep this where it is because I think it's working fine. I could change the problem by making it less sturdy, but I don't really want to do that, so I think I'll keep that. I think there's too much material around here. Like this bump here probably shouldn't exist. Start drawing up the pieces I want. Wireframes. What's up, Tuco? How did that actually attach? Oh, Tuco, you still want to play, huh? Okay, let's play with the cat and drink beer for a sec. Hey there, Tiger. Hey, Tuco. Oh, Milan, it wasn't that I didn't recognize you, it's that I don't like deadlines. These are two very different things. Cheers to everyone else having a cat and beer experience out there. Good job, Tuco. I believe in you. It's in like a little tiny pile of cardboard boxes. He's so determined with his stripy little tail wiggling. This is when it would be good to have like a robotic zoom camera to follow Tuco around when he's following these really tough bolts. Let's see if I can help. I mean, I've been thinking about modifying the modifying this little two-wheeled scooter to do that, because it's basically the right platform for that. It's like an AVR and some brushless motors and a battery. It's also tempting just to put motors on this tripod. That wouldn't make a terrible robot. Man, maybe I'll have to go pick up some motors on eBay or something, because I think that's honestly... Like, I have servos around the shop, and I have steppers, but I don't think I have... And I don't think I have a good stash of just, like, little light-duty... Oh, maybe I got some of those. That might be a good impromptu project, then. I might be able to motorize the Tuco Cam. I think I have some little DC motors. It'll be trickier if they aren't the geared type, though. It'll make the problem much easier to have proper geared motor units rather than having to 3D print everything. And I know a lot of people like continuous rotation servos. I think something about me, I just thought that was silly. Like, you have the circuits that's designed to do closed loop sensing, and you're just using it as a speed controller. I just want an 8's bridge. But it's convenient if you just got digital outputs. Oh, Tuco, you're so proud of that. Good job, little guy. Good job, Tuco. You want another one? That's a big yes. Same area? I don't have any reference links for ultrasound horns. I'm sorry. I don't have any links handy. I mean, I have some like basic intuition about how the materials would need to be really stiff at a certain angle to propagate the force waves really well, but like I don't think I've actually read anything that's worth passing on. Oh, there's another question about what device I was using earlier to orbit around my model in CAD. And that was, the brand name of the one I'm using is a Space Mouse, but I think the general term for them is something like a 6 Degree of Freedom mouse. It's pretty neat. It just gives you, like, I kind of like using it in tandem with a regular mouse because you can both be like selecting objects and moving the camera around pretty much independently. And the one I have also has a bunch of buttons that you can set up for keyboard modifiers and stuff, but I still suck at the muscle memory for that. So I mostly just use it for camera control. But I like it a lot. I think they have some models. I think this one was like the slightly fancier one, so it was like, I want to say it was like $150 or something. I think they have like a basic one that's like $70. Good job, little dude. Oh, we're actually getting some good light from the kitchen there, and it's not freaking out the autofocus today. It's a good omen. Knock on wood. He has a couple of different ways he likes to bring them back. Sometimes he kind of holds it with the tip in his mouth, kind of like a pacifier. Sometimes he grabs the edge of it, kind of like you're holding a poker chip or something. There's another question in chat. How many bolts did I print and how many are left? I have no idea for either of those questions. And in fact, the ones he's playing with right now aren't the 3D printed ones. These are the ones from McMaster-Carr, of which I've probably ordered about 300 or 400. Of which there's probably, a couple of hundred left. And it's not like they're gone, it's just like there's probably just like a huge mountain of bolts like under the refrigerator and like really way behind things where neither of us can get to them. So at some point I might go on a bolt excavation mission with the compressed air now that I have that. But I've also printed a bunch of bolts. I think I have one G-code file that prints like a plate of 32 bolts at once or something. Maybe it was 24. Oh, that's a great suggestion from chat, from Maggie. I need a Servo AF t-shirt for the show. That's a great idea. I should think about a design. Or maybe if one of you has a great idea for a Servo AF t-shirt, then that would be pretty awesome. I would totally wear one. Another good question in chat from Wildmania. Does Tuco love bolts only or other shapes as well? And that's a really good question, and I've been experimenting with that. And there are some other things that he kind of likes, but he really likes these bolts. He has a very strong preference for this shape compared to anything else I've tried. And I've tried variations on it. He's okay with the bolts if I make them longer, or if they don't have threads, or if I print them in different materials. To some extent. He's been more picky about that lately. I think he's been spoiled with these nice nylon ones lately. But no, he's super particular. A lot of other objects, he'll follow them around to some extent, but he doesn't retrieve them like he does the bolts. So there are some objects that he's brought back from outside in like the rest of the warehouse, like when I let him outside of my unit here. So I like rent one unit in this larger warehouse building, and I pretty often let him wander around outside, not like in the world at large, but just in the warehouse building. And so sometimes I think he goes into other people's, I know sometimes he goes into other people's units, like he likes some of my neighbors a lot, and we get along. But, oh, Tuco, are you tired now? Yeah, Tuco really likes some of my neighbors and we get along, but I think he also goes on explorations to, there's like oh man, I've got a video of this on YouTube, if somebody can find it. There's like Tuco Explores the Laundry Room, I think, if you search for that. There's this super weird laundry area in my building that has like what used to be a bathroom and shower behind it. And that isn't there anymore, or it's been like partially disassembled and it's no longer accessible. But if you climb over the walls, and the walls don't go all the way to the ceiling because it has really high ceilings. So if you stand on the washer or dryer, you can see this crazy area back there that Tuco actually seems to really enjoy. So I think sometimes he hangs out back there. But that doesn't explain the cigars or the roofing material that he brought back. So Those, I mean, we still have no idea about the cigars, and the roofing material could be something from like inside the building, or, I mean, I hope he can't get out onto the roof because that might be dangerous for him, but I suspect it's just something from like inside the building because there's all sorts of construction debris around this place given how old it is. Tuco, are you done? Tuco doesn't smoke the cigars, but he does actually, oh, that's right. So that's where I was going with that story. So he brings back objects sometimes. And so he's brought back like little bits of like construction trash every so often. But this thing he's been bringing, that he did bring back consistently, was he brought back 4 of these cigars, like wrapped cigars in cellophane. Oh, here's one. I thought there might have been one within arm's reach. This is like maybe the most deteriorated one. Oh, look, he was like, do you want me to fetch the cigar or the bolt? So he fetches the cigars. It's super weird. And he doesn't fetch just like random objects. He fetches objects he likes. You know, I've tried like building things that I like that seem like maybe a good shape, and he's like, no, it's not a bolt. But he brought back these cigars, I think because he likes them. And he likes how they crunch in his teeth. I think he likes the texture. And I think he likes how they're shaped like a stick. Hey Tuco, do you want to fetch this right now? Are you into this? Oh, are you not into that right now? All right. He's also pretty fickle. Maybe now isn't the time for fetching cigars. I think I got some video of that at some point. It was a pretty regular thing he was doing for a while, but he and I haven't been playing with the cigars in probably a couple weeks. So maybe now he's just more fixated on the bolts. My beer go? Oh yes, it was next to the Tuco cam, which could also, once I roboticize its wheels, it could also carry my beer. I mean, obviously Tuco cam should be the vector for the automated bolt thrower once that's actually ready. Oh, I think I can have Tuco cam introspect itself. This comes off the tripod. Cat. Oh, you so want this. Autofocus. Good job, Tuke. So, right now it is a cheap tripod labeled Tuco Cam 1. Clearly, I should just put some like 3D printed omnidirectional wheel mounts on here. They could just like skitter across the warehouse. Oh, someone suggested maybe using a wireless FP feed drone kind of setup for Tuco Cam. I'd be curious to see what kind of video quality I could get with something like that. I mean, it would probably be standard def, and probably not as good as this webcam. But maybe if I could get some video feed like from Tuco's collar or something, that might be worth it. Hey Tuco, this is one of the bad bolts, isn't it? We should throw that one away. This is one of the bolts you like. Tuco, are you finally done? Are you finally done, Tuco? All right, cool. Let's do some CAD. I think we can also turn on the light. Oh yeah, I always forget about that light. Oh, there's also a suggestion for a lightweight HDMI transmitter. I'm actually already using a wireless HDMI system for my projector here. And one of the reasons I've been avoiding that is I don't know if they can handle multiple channels, but yeah, maybe that's worth a shot anyway. Maybe I can find some way to, because I think I'd probably just have to like turn off the power to the extension cord that's going up to the projector when I'm using that system to keep that from stealing the signal, if that's the case. Should have this camera doing something interesting. What's up, Tuco? Are you still in the mood to play? We just did so much playing. Oh, are you gonna work on my Cat5 cables? Oh, that's the box of jumper wires, not Cat5 cables. Oh geez, that's blurry. Oh geez, am I detaching the lens? Let's not do that. Morale? Tuco, I hear you. You and I have been hanging out so much lately. Okay, that's slightly more useful. Let's have that roll. Yes, Tuco? Oh, the sagging. This arm is kind of far out right now. Servo AF. What do you want, Tuco? I wonder if he wants food or something like normal cat thing like that. Do you want a bolt? Oh, he still wants bolts. Of course he still wants bolts. That's what he does. That's what kind of cat he is. Oh, this color is way too bright. Okay, I was trying to resolve some kind of ambiguity, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense to create the revolution here, including something much larger here, and then to kind of cut out this shape from it. Oh, Tuco, you are so relaxing right now. He's in the croissant formation. Here I am all bundled up with like the sitting next to the heater, and he's just like, I just did a whole bunch of fetching. I am warm. Actually, maybe the heater's been doing its thing and it's warmed up in here. Let's turn the heater down. I think it's fine, actually. Need all these layers. That was not the right thing to throw that toward. All right. That's weird. I mean, this isn't really what I want anyway. I was just trying to simplify this shape. Hey, Tuco. Yeah, I should be more careful throwing sweatshirts around. Is continuous now. I think that's better. That wants to be that angle. That wants to be that angle. Oh, that's not joining correctly. Can I just redo that? I'm gonna make it easier for this to flex right here. I don't want that to be any wider than 0.3. Something like that. That's not what I wanted to do anyway. All right. And now I just want to support this edge while adding as little additional material as I can get away with. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. I think 5 is too much. I just wanted to give it a couple layers to stabilize before building another crazy angle. Something like that. All right, let's see if this mess is actually watertight. does that edge come from, and why is that not consistent? That should come from the diameter of, well, I mean, this is not the diameter of the disc inside, it's the diameter of the disc inside minus the length of the little pegs holding it in. Tuco's hanging out on the other floor mat over there. It's funny. Let's not delete this yet. So that's what we've got so far. And let's just make this a little wider. Oh, did it not delete the... That's right. That part doesn't trim off quite yet. There we go. Well, I mean, I hope it's springy because it sure looks like it should be. Let's clean this up a little bit. And start by revolving it. I'll start by getting the right plane for revolving it. Alright, so that by itself gives me this shape, which is all springy looking. But a lot of that's going to get cut away. How's that going to work out? So yeah, this inner part can be cut away, and it'll still be supported on this outer part, I think. Alright, that should be cool. So then let's basically just copy this cutout and the shape of this opening here. I hear you, Tuco. Let's make that a plane. that even a closed surface? Well, that worked. So that is the shape of the interior cavity that I want. And then I will put these together in some manner. I think I'm just going to kind of clean up this shape before I do anything else with it. Hide those shapes. I want to keep those angles, but maybe make that opening. Oh, I mean, can't. The top has to. I mean, unless I want a bridge, the top kind of has to come to a point like that. And the highest it can come to is the level of this cutout. Ideally, I think it would come to yeah, maybe that same level. I don't think any other padding is necessary necessarily. Oh, there's got to be an easier way to draw a 30-degree line here. Baseline. Oh yeah, 30-degree angle. Let's do that, but down here. Sure. Okay, got that right on the center line of the top piece. Oops, I meant to copy that and mirror it, not just mirror it. Alright, I think that's kind of the shape it has to be. Because it needs to come to this level, and that's the overhang angle I'm using. That's pretty much the footprint we have. Just convenient. Where did these come from? Those are the old shapes. I don't want those anymore. Alright, that's the shape I care about right now. man, this is a really messy model. I kind of want to redo this a little bit. I think that might actually be relatively simple. So I've got just a plain cylinder there of the outside dimensions, which I'm going to temporarily hide. I was going to do this by like taking apart the surfaces in that cylinder, but I think it might be easier to do this with booleans again. So let's I wanted to hide, oops, I wanted to hide the other one. That one. I don't think this had any other interesting features on it. I think this is just the tabs to hold in that disc on top of it. So now I've just taken that and kind of made a cutting tool. Let's hide that again. This should be our tool for kind of cutting out the inside of that button now. If we show the rest of these pieces we're working on, hide the old button, just the new one. Oh, that maybe needs to be more solid than it is. Oh, I think it turned out to be more solid because of a topology issue anyway. So maybe that's fine. And I mean, in reality, the middle of this isn't going to be solid anyway. It's going to be shells. So that's fine for now. I can take out more of that later if I need to. Failure. Maybe I should have booleaned those two pieces together. That one fails too. Can I do just the triangular part? That one's fine. I'm not going to worry about those edges because this is going to be part of some other big thing still. Yeah. That might need some more work, but also might be fine. I still need to cut out the center. Oh, maybe I just need to make this tool longer on the bottom. Oh, never mind. I thought that this... I thought there was some Z fighting, but that was just my mistake. Maybe I'll just tweak the size of this slightly. Oops. Box edit. Hey boy. Let's make this piece very slightly bigger. Let's try to get a slightly nicer rendering of this. Cool. These little clips to hold that in. So these are going to be some kind of steep overhang angles. So I may want to try to simplify this area a bit still. Where are all my objects? There we go. that other piece. Oh, it's just hidden behind everything else. Fine. Oops. This is still way too wide. Before I use this to cut, I need to make this a little thinner because I really just want to trim off some of that. Yeah. That seems more likely not to be a total mess on the printer. Oh geez, that's not good though. Where did that come from? I think I just need to make my cut slightly taller. Let's fix up that z-axis. Oh, yeah, I just moved this down at some point. That's better. Oh, if this works out, this will be a neat little button design to use for other stuff. I mean, I'll be happy to have a camera switchy thing, but I'm sure another weird design for Thingiverse will be a nice thing to have. It's a bit of a weird step in there still, but I think it's within the tolerance of the materials we're working with. Like, it's not going to be an issue. So, have we shown everything? Okay, so there's the old shape. And there's the new shape. Huge difference, right? I think this one will actually be a lot better. But I need to add this around it first, and then I'm going to print it. I don't want this layer anymore. Oh. The actual block definition ended up on that layer, which is annoying. Oh well. Hey, Tuco. Play. Obviously. Okay, so the surround is actually pretty easy. Let's go back in here. Let's go back to the vertical plane. All right. Let's clean up all this junk. Yeah. Alright, so I want something that comes down maybe a 0.5 millimeter here, and then has like a nice smooth surface for your finger to rest on. Hey, Tuco. I'm also getting tired, I think. It might be time to wrap up this stream and not actually get this project finished this weekend. That was gonna be nice, but oh well. Why am I not snapping to any of these points? Ah, that's weird. Let's just make a wireframe. Alright, work with this for now. Oh yeah, that actually comes up a little bit relative. What is that line anyway? I think that's just some part of the NURB for the external edge of that button. So what I actually want is, can I not? I just want to make this tangent to this curve. Can I make that orthogonal? Maybe not. Line perpendicular. That works. Yes. I really like this program. It is fun to use for CAD when you have no idea what you're building. That looks kind of big, but I probably do want that to be 0.5. I mean, the actual legit travel is 0.2, but I want to leave plenty of room for things mushing and wobbling. And then I also want to space this out quite a bit. I'd been using 0.5 for that. Oops, wrong object. I'd been using 0.5 millimeters for that too, and that actually felt all right. And then thickness. I mean, a millimeter is probably too thick. I don't actually want this stuff to be like super rigid. I think I was using maybe 0.6 before at the top. And then like a slope right there. Ah, this is too complicated. Let's get rid of some of this stuff before even trying to Boolean it. Tuco, you want to hang out? I'm going to wrap up this stream soon, Tuco. We can start this printing and play some Bolt. It's not quite the fillet I wanted, but... Hey, Tuco. Okay, I think I'm... It's way too big there. Sure. Hey, Tuco. I kind of like that curve, but I'm worried that it might be too tough, so I might try making it hollow. I mean, it's going to be hollow anyway, but I might try making it intentionally weak if I see any opportunities. think I wanted negative 30 degrees. I don't think I can get there with positive 30 degrees. No? Okay, maybe that tool doesn't work the way I think it does. That's fine, I can just rotate a line. I don't have to use an angled line. Interesting. Offset really was not happy with this curve. Just offset the piece of it I want. I think 0.3 is cutting a little close. That it didn't end up mattering at all anyway, because I'm going to fill at that corner. So I could have just used the curve. The line was to try to make sure I didn't reach any overhang problems. But it's fine. Small fillet? No, not across all of it. Just this piece. Okay, now this will need some cutouts also. So what I did last time for this part was to just make a thin cutout just for this resistor, and then to make it symmetric I just made 3 of them that were all the same. I think I can go ahead and man, I might want to do some topology hacks here. Since I kind of wanted some hollow areas. Zuko's chewing on bungee cords. That's just something he likes. They're not under much tension, so I don't think it's bad for him. So there's an intersection there, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal. This material is super soft, and I don't think there's actually anything in that part of the bounding box. Like, that would be at worst maybe a solder blob that comes out to here or something. So that's fine. Too many objects here. Too many objects and not enough objects. Maybe this is actually good, because if I reduce the width between contact points on here, then it shouldn't resist flexing as much. So if this actually has a wide contact point and then comes over, that also gives this part room to flex separately rather than anchoring it down, which would be bad. And I don't even think I'm going to have to worry about making it hollow anymore. Okay. I think I like that. I mean, it still needs some cutouts, but I think it doesn't get in the way of the other part anymore. Where's the cat? Boolean failed. Let's try to avoid the ambiguities here. Oh, he's over there. I see him on the camera. I think that's all I wanted to do actually, just make that a slight bit thinner. Oh, bad Boolean luck. I think I need to make it slightly less big in the other dimension too. Because this edge over here is kind of ambiguous. I should have actually done that by just moving these edges over a little bit. So I do something like this, and that can just be kind of an arbitrary amount because that's going to merge in anyway. And then this can be pretty small amount just to avoid edge ambiguities there as much as possible. So I think technically I'm making a very slight step down, but that's better than just like kind of an infinitely sharp point. That was a weird noise. I wonder if the neighbors are drunk. I mean, I usually don't make weird noises when I'm drunk, but I guess that's something that neighbors often... I don't know. I don't really know my current neighbors too well. I used to have neighbors that were kind of noisy when they got drunk, but it wasn't really a problem. Okay. Let's clear this out a little bit. Oh, there's a bunch of these curves left over from earlier things. So we've got this kind of interior, kind of springy shape, and this kind of shield around the whole thing. That's not awful, but we should still kind of hollow out a little more space for this resistor. It's only an 0603 resistor, so like this might already be enough space. I think I want to round off these edges a bit before I try to use this as a Boolean object. Oh, that's fine. I don't need to make a copy of that, really. Might have cut that a little too close. Let's make that cylinder a little bigger. Yeah. See what it looks like when I just subtract one of these. So that's kind of a bridge, which is not the greatest. But I think it'll be fine since it's so little. And this cutout is, like it'd be fine if it didn't break through. Oh wait, it doesn't break through. That's the bottom side I'm looking at. Yeah. The rendered view is much easier to see angles in. So it kind of cuts into the structure supporting the spring here, but I think that's fine. And this bridge will actually be pretty small. So let's just subtract the rest of these and try to print it. And wrap up the stream probably, because I'm getting tired. Or at least tired of sitting in the same place and streaming. Maybe threefold symmetry was just a terrible idea for this. Because it actually fits with very little disruption on this side. Let's just make that 180-degree symmetry and call it a day. Better. Okay. I think the other small change I want to make is I just want to print a couple of these together because I want to see, like I want to get a sense of not just a single, but how they affect each other when they're nearby. See how these merge, that's kind of nice. maybe I'll just print like a cluster of these three. Oh, I don't actually want to union all of those. I just want to union the poly surfaces on the outside. It's like, no, don't even try that. Oh, Boolean onion, you have failed me. I think I need to trim this before I can possibly union these together. Cool, I think that's working. Oh, it still failed. Burn. Oh, what does this edge look like? It's not perfect. I don't see the problem. Well, I might need a slightly different way of assembling this if the Booleans are going to be such a problem. I'm also probably going to have some additional pieces that get layered into this that might change the way these are actually joined. Anyway, let's just export one of these and look at it in Cura. Maybe a whole one. It looks nicer. It's interesting. Inside doesn't look quite as flat as I expected it to. Sure, that's supposed to be like that. Yeah, I think that's too thin to print, so I need to adjust that. All right, a little bit more fussing around with this before I'm actually ready to print. I think I should wrap up the stream because I'm a little stiff. I need to do something slightly different for a bit. But yeah, let me try to. Looks like lots has been going on in the chat that I missed. Oh, there's lots going on in here. All right. Well, I think that's where I'm going to end this tonight, but might keep poking at this later after recouping my humanity slightly. This construction method is getting a little unwieldy, and I just want to test this, and my cat wants to play. So, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a good night. Oh, maybe we can have a cat here. Tuco, you want to play? Have a good night, everyone. Happy holidays. Good job, Tuco.